We've talked about him a lot over the last several days, and I imagine over the next 10 to 15 years, we're going to be talking about him nonstop. Anthony Edwards has quickly become the front runner to be the next face of the NBA. The Timberwolves are now look like the team to beat outside of maybe the Boston Celtics, who looked really impressive against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But Anthony Edwards has been the talk of the NBA playoffs. People are comparing to Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. Well, Trae Young had a tweet about the former Georgia Bulldog, and he said Ant should have been a Hawk, but that is a story for another time. Now, the question is, listen, Trae does this stuff all the time. Is there actually a story here? Is he just saying, oh, man, these guys have been in Sprite commercials, I believe it was. He's from the Atlanta area. Maybe he's just saying the Hawks should have gotten that number one pick and they should have taken Ant. But I'm interested to see if there is a story, and I'm sure this will be brought up on his next episode of the podcast, From the Point on Bleacher Report, because the Timberwolves weren't dead set on Anthony Edwards, number one. The Hawks had the number 6 pick, which they used on Onyeka Okongwu. We know Travis Schlenk has a keen eye for talent. Was there any conversations between the Hawks maybe trying to move up those 5 spots and landing a talent like Anthony Edwards when now he looks like no-brainer consensus? If you had a redraft, everyone would take him and no one would even care about the rest of the draft. The Timberwolves won it. But at the time of the draft, that wasn't necessarily the case. I'm kind of interested to see maybe if the Hawks were trying to move up and get him. And God, could you have imagined that? I always wonder, when is something like this going to happen to us? Like the Hawks haven't had it. I mean, Trae Young is the closest thing we've had. And I love Trae Young. And I've been.
I mean, Marvin Bagley went before Trae Young in that draft.
DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, you could have been those. You could have been and the Suns still came out pretty all right.
We could have gotten Doncic.
Yeah, we could have been. Story for a different day. Story for another time.
I don't think we even just need. I think that's just one of those things you just don't bring up anymore.
Listen, we
didn't lose the draft.
We lost the trade. We didn't lose the draft. Like, we could have been the Kings or the Suns there. Like, it could have been much, much worse. With that being said, I think, not to throw a wet blanket on it, but this is just another one of those Trae Young things where, and he's not trying to rile people up. I really don't believe that. He's just meaning, like, kind of locker room talk, like, dang, he should have been. I think he said something about Zion when that clip resurfaces of Zion going and touching the Hawks hat before the draft, and he goes, yeah, Zion should have been a Hawk. Yeah, he should have been a Hawk. Yada yada yada. We just didn't have the opportunity, and I do think that maybe there was a offer presented, maybe a certain Travis Schlenk didn't give any sort of information to Trae Young. That's not what kind of GM he was. Yeah. I seriously doubt it. That is the case for a lot of guys like LeBron James. A lot of these guys get a say in, like Steph Curry is clearly going to be involved in decision-making operations up there in Golden State, but I don't think that was the case in Atlanta with Travis Schlenk, and Trae Young was so young in his career still.
It's just that he said that's a story for another day. All right, Trae, well, what's the story? Because if you just said he should have been a Hawk, you're just like us. We're all living in alternate universes where every player
every great player should have been a Hawk.
Should have been an Atlanta Hawk, which is funny because he's just like us. But it's because he said, hey, that's a story for another day. So if there is a story, I am dying to hear it, but I'm sure he'll be asked that and we'll know in the near future. The other big news out of the Atlanta Hawks is that Trae Young has switched agencies from Clutch Sports to CAA. Now, of course, Clutch Sports is Rich Paul's agency, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. So
LeBron James is
Rich Paul.
Rich Paul runs it and owns it, but LeBron James, it's an extension of LeBron James.
Yeah, but I don't want to take anything away from Rich Paul. But anyways, I agree. Now you're going to get people wondering, oh, what does this mean? I think the only thing you can 100% take away is he obviously wasn't satisfied with the agency and that he wanted to move them. But I do think there's something there, and the reason that he's doing it right now is another one of those signs where we talked about where Trae Young said, I want to win. It was the first time we had ever heard him basically go out there and say, maybe it's not with Atlanta. Like, he left that door open, and then he switches agency. I don't think you can just completely ignore that. I think he is preparing for the worst. Now, I still think he's giving the Hawks the benefit of the doubt, but he sees the writing on the wall. He sees that Tony Ressler, Nick Ressler, this entire organization seems to be just an absolute mess. Beyond that, they don't seem interested in trying to win that way, or at least spending to win or know how to win. So it's a mess, there's a mess here. He sees the writing on the wall. I'm sure he'll give him the benefit of the doubt this offseason, but if not, he definitely seems like he's looking for a way out. And it could happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Creative Artist Agency, CAA, is the largest talent representation group in the world, and they represent athletes, actors, musicians, everybody. So this isn't like a CAA, he's going to LA like some buffoons who have voices in Atlanta are kind of, alluding to. What you can absolutely take away from this, like Jay said, is he was clearly unhappy or dissatisfied or whatever negative connotation you want to give to Clutch Sports that CAA obviously offers. And now that's where the speculation begins. Where was Clutch dropping the ball that CAA kind of picks it up? Is it off the court? Is it on the court? Is it within the Hawks organization? Could maybe, Clutch arms can't really extend to Atlanta. Doubt that. Maybe CAA has a little bit more pull in the NBA. Whatever it might be. There was clearly something, like you said, that caused Trae to go from Clutch to CAA. Now, where you take that is up to you, but don't just automatically assume, because he signed with CAA, he's going to the Lakers, when in fact CAA represents more athletes than any other agency in the world.
Well, I mean, I would think the opposite. I mean, you're talking about
this is LeBron's agency.
You're talking about Clutch Sports, Rich Paul, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. If he had stayed with Clutch Sports, I mean, this is something Clutch Sports has been doing in the
Athletes don't
NBA.
Switch agencies, representations for no reason.
But this is something like the Clutch Sports thing has been around in the NBA for the entirety of LeBron James' career, and he and Rich Paul has been, moving these chess pieces around with his clients to get other Clutch Sports clients with his clients. I mean, look at AD. Look at LeBron James right now. So if he was staying with Clutch Sports, I would think there would be a way bigger possibility for him to go to LA.
So I moronic.
So I think if anything, like it would hurt the idea, but I still think it's very much in play. I mean, listen, if LeBron continues playing, he would be a fool not to want a guy like Trae Young on his team if the Hawks would entertain something like that, which I don't think they will, by the way. I do think they could entertain trading him. I don't see anything on the Lakers worth trading for. I mean, you see these trade packages and they're dangling out there Austin Reeves like he's the second coming of Larry Bird, buddy. Nobody wants Austin
And they don't have draft picks. They don't have anything.
Well, yeah, like even if you do have draft picks, it's like, the
2030.
The 32nd overall. But yeah, I'm not interested in that. A second round pick for my star player. Yeah, you can send that right where it came from, buddy. Like nobody wants that. So Lakers fans are delusional. The only reason I would think they would have a chance is because, the clutch thing in the NBA just is a superstar driven league and teams do stupid things. And if the Hawks did a stupid thing, I wouldn't be shocked. But I have to think they're going to get something better than what the Lakers can offer. I mean, at least get your draft picks back from San Antonio.
It really is a pathetic thought to think about. Like either way, and I know we're kind of going in a different direction from Trae Young and his agency decision and everything like that. But I just did a piece on Trae Young's next team odds. Go check it out on the site, sportstalkatl.com. And then the Lakers and Spurs are co-betting favorites at plus 300. Now that is next team odds, if not for the Atlanta Hawks, obviously. And I, basically said it. The Lakers have nothing of value to really offer the Hawks. And if a deal did come to fruition for Trae Young and then he goes to LA, I'd be borderline, boycotting the Hawks outside of State Farm
I'd be
Arena.
a Wolves fan. It'd be ant time.
But I don't know which is worse. Trading Trae Young and just getting the picks back you traded for DeJounte Murray, or trading to I don't know which is worse, because both are slaps in the face and shows incompetence on the Hawks' part. It really is a worst of worst situations.
Yeah, but I think something that Hawks fans have to come to grips with is there's no selling high on this situation, because both guys have hurt their value over the last couple of years. And whether that's fair or not, listen, DeJounte Murray's value is less than it was when he was traded from the Spurs. Trae Young's is obviously less than it was a couple of years ago coming off an Eastern Conference Finals run. So I mean, yeah, like the value has gone down. I mean, you just got to face the music at this point. That's what the Hawks are going to have to do. And at a certain point, you hang on too long, and guess what? You're trading for Rudy Gay. I'm just saying, this is the fact of the matter. Now, the big issue.
I'd rather hang on to him and trade him for Rudy Gay.
The big issue, yeah. Well, at least you can go, Oklahoma City route and just be the worst team ever, and then just. But even then, they were able to get some stuff for the players. I mean, listen, it's a bad situation because you don't own your picks, so you can't really tank. So maybe get them back. I don't know. I mean, but yeah, it's a tough situation. We'll see how the Hawks handle it. But as we said, they don't necessarily have the most promising figures trying to figure it out.